Yeah. Yeah. Reacting to true stories, scary animations, part 64. Oh, we back with another one. Say it with me now. Boy, you better get that out of here. Alert, alert, everybody, get your butts to the kitchen and get your snacks. Now is the time. Get your popcorn, get your chips, get your Capri Suns, your peanuts, your candy, your soda, your juice, or you can get your water if you want. But get some good snacks from the pantry. Go, go, go. And if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button. It'll really help out the channel. Gotta give a shout out to MJV Animations. They're the ones that made these amazing animations we're about to watch. Please stick with me all the way to the end of this video, okay? I don't want to watch these by myself. And yeah, comment down below what grade you're in. Let me know. And let's go! I'm not nervous this time, alright? I got it. We got it. But yeah, if you got your snacks and you got your blankets, let's go ahead and check these out. Let's go! Suburban Horror Story.
In the summer of 2015, I worked at a university in a small southern town. I lived a few miles away from campus in a 2-bedroom house with a roommate, and my schedule was pretty rigid. Same routine every day. I went to class in the morning, worked in the afternoon, and got home around 9 p.m. One Thursday night, I arrived home at the usual time and noticed that there was an old pickup truck idling at the yield sign across the street from my house. I didn't know the make or model, but it was beat up. Peeling paint, rust, dents. It looked really out of place in our neighborhood. Most people there drove nice modern cars, so this thing stood out like a sore thumb. The streets were deserted. It clearly wasn't waiting for other cars to pass. I thought maybe the driver was just texting or something, but since my roommate wasn't home yet, I didn't want to leave the safety of my own vehicle. I'm a petite woman who doesn't carry pepper spray anymore, so I try to be aware of my surroundings. I pulled into my driveway and just sat there, staring at the truck and waiting for it to leave. Eventually it did. It pulled away slowly and made its way out of the neighborhood toward the main road. When it was out of sight, I went inside, locked the door behind me, and made myself some dinner. By 11 p.m., my roommate still hadn't come home, and I was folding laundry and listening to podcasts in my room. I'd forgotten all about the truck. Suddenly, the lights went out. That spooked me, because normally, our power didn't shut off unless there was bad weather. That night was clear as a bell, so I immediately called my roommate and asked where he was. He told me he was already on his way home and would be there in about 5 minutes. Relieved, I just told him to step on it and hung up. No reason to freak out about a power outage, right? He'd be there soon enough, and then we could figure it out together. I walked into the living room to wait for him. Our front door had a little diamond-shaped window in it, which I always hated. I stood on my tiptoes and looked out to see if our neighbor's power was out as well. I was surprised to see that it wasn't. Even the street light near our front yard was still on. Weird. Had I somehow blown a fuse? Just as I considered making a trip to the basement to reset the breakers, I received a text message from my mom. I don't remember what it was about, but it only took me a few seconds to answer it. After I did, I looked out the window again. To my utter shock and surprise, there was a man standing under the streetlight. He hadn't been there before, and I instantly got a bad feeling. He was middle-aged and about 6 feet tall, with a pot belly and little round glasses, unkempt hair, old sneakers. His white t-shirt and blue jeans were filthy. He looked like he'd been working on a car or something.
Gross.
He was mechanic dirty, you know? And he had this awful, smug expression on his face. I had never seen him before. Still in shock at actually seeing someone out there, I didn't move. Luckily, he couldn't see me because the inside of my house was pitch dark. But to my absolute horror, he was headed straight for me.
Oh, no.
Not walking quickly or with purpose, just kind of casually shuffling toward the house. If someone else were to pass by, they probably wouldn't realize what he was up to. He even glanced around a few times, as if making sure nobody else was watching. Inch by inch, he made his way into the yard. This guy was coming to get me. I was sure of it. I started to shake. I think it's worth mentioning that my dog is very people-oriented, and usually goes bananas when he hears someone outside. This time, he was silent. He had no idea there was a man approaching, even though I was staring at him through the window. When the man was about halfway to the porch, my roommate's car finally rounded the bends and turned onto our street.
Ooh.
As soon as those headlights lit him up, the man turned to look and recognized the approaching vehicle. My roommate and I both saw his face. He recognized that car. In his haste to get away, he nearly stepped in front of it and got run over. My roommate swerved into the driveway, scrambled out, and charged into the house. He didn't even speak to me.
Dang.
He just grabbed the axe out of our utility closet and went back outside to confront the man. But the man was gone. We called the police and the power company, and they both sent someone to check things out. The police didn't find anything. The repairman reset the box on the pole near our house. Apparently, the switch had flipped, which is why our house, and only our house, was without electricity. I asked the repairman if there was any way that a person could have been responsible for that, but he didn't give me a straight answer. The following day, we went on a camping trip that lasted all weekend. If the man came back, we never knew. And after that, I refused to be home alone. If my roommate wasn't around when I got off work, I killed time at a local bar until he got back. We both moved away soon after. I never saw the man or the truck again, but sometimes I wonder how long he had been watching our house, and what might have happened if my roommate hadn't been on his way home that night.
No! You would have been cooked. That's what would have happened. Gotta remember to lock your doors, lock your windows, and turn on the alarm, especially at night, because there's crazy white people out there. And all races, diversity. Okay, don't go anywhere. Let's go ahead and watch another one. Let's go!
This happened in 2016 when I was a 17-year-old first-year college student in film school. I'm now 22 female, and my name is Julia. I lived alone in my first ever apartment. It was really small, but I was really proud of my independence. I never felt unsafe in this apartment for several reasons. There were multiple gates in the residence that needed to be opened through a code only the people who lived there knew. My door had 3 different locks, and it was right next to the university, so most of the people who lived in the neighborhood were college students. Nothing bad had ever happened in the neighborhood before. I've always been very careful with locking the door when I leave my home. I always check twice. I have slight OCD. So this one time I left to go to class and locked my door, but for some reason I couldn't get the key out of the lock. It was completely stuck, so when I went to get the caretaker of the building to help me, but he wasn't there and I was getting late for class, I went to class with the key still in the lock.
No.
I took off the keychain first, so it wasn't too noticeable. When I got home, the caretaker was back, so he came to help me, and we couldn't get it up for 15 minutes, until somehow he did. He told me the lock was damaged, but that I didn't necessarily need to change it, if I only locked it once instead of twice. I just said okay, and that was the end of it. I really wasn't worried because of how safe I felt in this building. Fast forward to 2 months later, I was taking out the trash one night around 11 p.m. and while on the phone with my sister, I remember telling her that I was taking out the trash and that I would take a shower afterwards before heading to a party. As I previously said, I always lock the door, even just to take out the trash. Because of my lock being damaged, I only locked it once. When I got back to my apartment, I found the door unlocked, which immediately alarmed me, so I went into the apartment and locked the door immediately with 3 different types of locks. When you walk into my apartment, which is just 215 square feet, you have the main room in front of you and the bathroom door immediately to your left. I had left the bathroom door slightly open, enough so I could see a man in my shower, turning his back to me. Naturally, when I saw this, I tried to open the door and leave as fast as possible. Except, my main lock was damaged from 2 months earlier, and I couldn't open it no matter how hard I tried. In this moment, all I could think of was the fact that I had to leave as fast as possible. I jumped out the window without really thinking.
Oh.
I figured it was the only solution.
Bend your knees.
I was on the 2nd floor, so I completely smashed my ankles on the landing. I started running in whichever way I could, and when I got a little bit further from the building, I looked back and a man was there at my window watching me run away.
Dang, girl.
I thought of 2 possible outcomes. Either the man was going to jump and chase me, and I wouldn't get far with my twisted ankles, or he would get scared of the height and be locked in my apartment. Thankfully, he picked option 2. I went to hide in a bush a little further and called the police, who arrived in just 10 minutes because I live close to the station. I pushed my door open and the man was just sitting there on my couch holding a kitchen knife,
Are you
waiting
serious?
for me to come back, like he didn't think I would call the police. They arrested the guy. They also told me how everything had happened. Like I said, it was a very friendly neighborhood with mostly college students, so he got inside the building by other people holding the door for him. He then heard me telling my sister I was going to take a shower, which was why he was waiting in the bathroom for me. He crocheted my lock while I was taking out the trash. He apparently noticed me on the school campus and followed me to my home several times before succeeding in actually coming in. He stayed inside waiting for me because I had recently changed my phone, and the previous one was still on the table, so he thought I didn't have a phone with me to call the police. I don't live there anymore, but after that, to get into the building, we all needed identification proving we lived there. Building IDs were created, and we had to scan them every time. and it was the only way to go inside. Nothing bad happened in the neighborhood after that. It's back to being very peaceful and friendly.
For now. You see, this is why I don't go to school. Yeah, there's perverts on the loose. But yeah, always gotta be aware of your surroundings. Make sure nobody's following you. Okay, stay with me and let's watch one more. Let go.
My brother didn't leave his room for 3 days, and my parents wouldn't let me check on him. On the third night Jacob didn't come out of his room, I got the courage to bring it up to my mom. "People don't sleep for this long," I said. She was cooking a casserole, the 6th one this week.
Ugh, casserole.
We were running out of fridge space for the leftovers, but she kept making more. I would watch her from the corner of the kitchen, her posture curved and her newly grayed hair hanging over the food. I walked over and tugged at her sleeve, but she didn't respond. She was slathering butter on the top crust. "Mom," I said, "did you hear me?" "He needs his strength," she said. "We can't be bothering him."
The heck?
Before I could say anything, Dad walked in. His eyes were red and swollen, but he was smiling, and he had 3 cans of Coke in his hands.
Greedy.
"Starving," he said. I still have the taste of that horrible cafeteria food in my mouth. "You would think hospitals had good food for how much money they make," Mom said. "I know, right?" Dad said. He placed the Cokes on the counter. Mom didn't want us to go near Jacob's room, but I was getting worried. I peered out from the kitchen. His room hung at the end of the hallway like an abandoned lighthouse, the only sign of life being the New York Yankees poster taped to his door. Near the ground, there was a small sliver of space to see if he had turned on his lights. It was still dark, as it had been for the last 3 days. I turned back to Mom. "Shouldn't we check on him?" I asked. "I don't know why places like Wendy's or Burger King don't put up little shops in hospitals," Dad went on. "I mean, you have hundreds of people who are stuck there for days on end. That's consistent business. It's all politics," Mom said.
She looks evil.
Sign these big contracts that are impossible to break. Right, that makes sense, right. Dad was standing next to Mom now, his face inches from the casserole, and he took a long sniff. "Ah," he said, "smells great. Do you want some of the leftovers while this finishes in the oven?" she asked. "I think we still have some from yesterday. Wasn't the spinach and ricotta one good?" "Very good. Very, very good," he said. I literally couldn't stop eating it. "Jacob's gonna devour these when he gets the appetite," Mom said. I turned back and took a step into the hallway. The distance between me and his room felt long and narrow, like a high wire. When I got away from the casserole smell, I hit a different smell. It reminded me of old gym socks. Even with Mom's array of candles and incense, I could still smell it. It cut through everything. The last time I saw Jacob was on the drive home from his treatment. His face was a pale green and his eyes kept rolling back.
Jeez.
Mom said I had to keep talking to him to keep his focus. I told him about my friends from school and how they kept pranking the teacher by putting tacks on her chair. It wasn't true. I actually just saw it on a TV show once, but I was running out of material. It really didn't matter though. Jacob didn't even respond. All he did was cough. Pink drool was spilling out onto his t-shirt. "Danny," Mom said, "why don't you heat up some of those leftovers? We're all craving that spinach and ricotta casserole."
No, we're not.
"I can't stop thinking about it," Dad said. "I was literally dreaming about it last night." I ignored them. I kept my focus on my brother's door. I didn't dream about the casserole like Dad. I kept having a different dream. My brother was running into my room and flicking my ear. It was a game we used to play. We would tiptoe up to each other's door and then wait for our moment. Then the attacker ran in and got 1 or 2 good flicks before retreating. In my dream, though, Jacob would run in and flick me, but I wouldn't move. I just stood there. He would flick and laugh, then flick some more sometimes. Sometimes he would flick so hard my ear flew off. "Earth to Danny," Dad said, snapping his fingers in my face. He was standing in front of me, blocking my view of Jacob's door. "Do you mind heating up 4 portions of the casserole in case Jacob wants some? We're going to eat that before this next casserole because we want to make sure Jacob's able to try it, because in my opinion, it was definitely one of your mom's best." I looked up at him and held my eye contact. I couldn't say what I was thinking, so I wanted Dad to feel it. Maybe if I stared long enough, my feelings would translate. But Dad only looked at me for a moment and then walked away. In that brief connection, though, I saw something I didn't want to see. It was like staring down the tunnel of the world's deepest well. "Come on now," he said. He grabbed my shoulders and turned me around. His voice got heavier. "You're going to want to heat up each piece individually, because if you do, all of them at once, then you won't get the heat through the pieces. You'll probably have a couple that are too hot and others that are too cold, and then Jacob won't get the full picture of how good these casseroles are." Dad let go of my shoulders and walked ahead of me, but I stayed in the hallway a moment longer. I turned to look at my brother's door one last time. I fantasized about walking up to it and going inside, but I was afraid Mom would yell at me. Besides, I never liked going in there. He had a puke bucket next to his bed, which always had pink splatters in it, and there were always clumps of hair on his pillows. Back before the last hospital visit, Mom would make me go in there and talk to him. But I always made up some excuse, like that I had a cold and I didn't want to get him more sick. But when I couldn't get out of it, I would stay in there for a few minutes and watch him try to breathe. I would tell him about some TV episode I saw, then run back to my room. I looked up. I thought I was walking back to the kitchen, but I was moving toward the door. I didn't want to, but I kept moving, like my limbs were controlled by a puppeteer. I put my hand on the doorknob, and I turned it. The gym sock smell filled my head like helium. Through the darkness, I could make out a sliver of my brother's face. The soft evening light fell on him, and his eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling. His arms were straight as rulers, and his fingers curled like a blooming rose. I walked to the side of his bed. Red spit fell off his lips. He looked like a frowning clown. I flicked his ear, and it was hard. I walked out and closed the door behind me. As I walked back, I seemed to forget what the inside of his room looked like. With the door closed, I wondered what he was doing. Jacob could be doing jumping jacks, or reading comic books, or plotting his next ear flick attack. When I walked into the kitchen, I heated up 4 plates of spinach and ricotta casserole. When they were done, I wrapped Jacob's plate in aluminum foil and put it in the oven to keep warm. Then Mom, Dad, and I sat in the dining room and we ate in silence.
Wait, what? That's it? Well, dang, man, I thought it was gonna turn out like they were cannibals or something. Or like the brother was gonna come out and bite their necks. Man, I was really hoping for like another jump scare at the end. But it's okay, guys, I'll finish the story, and then everybody lived happily ever after, yeah. But if you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and smack that like button. And yeah, I'ma see ya in the next one. Peace.